Appreciate it.
You're very patient.
I am very patient. You're very patient. I'm new here to the Senate, and I watch what you have to go through as chairman, and we thank you. A lot of what we're talking about today, and you've been questioned about, was uncovered because of our chairman and his service to this committee, and I want to thank him because he's uncovered a lot, especially during the last administration, where many of our federal agencies went far off their mission. And I believe we wouldn't have as much information as we do if it wasn't for our esteemed chairman. So I wanted to publicly thank him. And being the newest member of Judiciary, I am so grateful to be here because sometimes I'm wondering if some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't know what they're talking about, or if they're ill-intentioned and purposefully trying to gaslight not just the American public, but other people in law enforcement and agencies that you're working with. So as a former attorney general, as a former federal prosecutor, as a former judge, as the wife of a law enforcement officer, both federal and state over the course of his career, I would like to clarify a few things and give you the opportunity to highlight some of the things that the FBI is doing. And two of the things I heard thrown out there, and by the way, it was when some of my colleagues would breeze in just in time to rail on you and spout out misinformation and narratives that have no grounding in reality to criminal justice, and then breezed right out as soon as they were done. And I think that it does the American public more good when the oversight function of Congress allows for you to comment in a way that makes sense and is grounded in reality. So let's first talk about the reason why we are having to reassign, not just in the FBI, but in other agencies, criminal justice agencies, federal agents to accomplish different things, as has been done historically throughout our country. When we get into office, we have to examine and triage the threats facing this nation, threats facing Americans, and then allocate resources accordingly. I guess you are to be judged negatively because you are trying to reallocate the resources of the FBI to fix what the Democratic administration prior to this under Biden broke. So let's talk about the reassignment of federal agents and why that has been necessary. Would you say that the majority of assignments has been made because we are facing unprecedented levels of violence, both because of the unvetted surge of anywhere from 11 million to 20 million people across our border in the last 4 years, and because of the woke, weak, insane policies that have been pushed into states and cities around this nation by the left?
Absolutely.
And so I hear you being grilled because you have rightfully pushed resources where they needed to go to protect the American public. And I have heard you questioned that you are in some way, and I'm going to use their words, which I don't believe is grounded in reality, that you are going to lean on local and state agents to do the job of the FBI. Might it be recharacterized more accurately in that you are partnering with local and state agencies in these areas, especially where these policies that the Democrats support wholeheartedly, in fact, they frustrate our efforts to try and beef up our laws with good criminal justice policies at every turn, and then come in here and get on you for, by the way, you've been here 7 months, so I know that in the 7 months you didn't break it, they broke it over the last 4 years, but it isn't more accurate to say that you are using the federal government and its agencies, or its agents and its resources to supplement and amplify law enforcement efforts in these areas, cities and states, where the Democrat policies broke them.
We are It's been an integral part of my tenure to use local and state partnerships. I say it everywhere I go. We cannot do the work without partnering with state and local authorities in every single state and every single county in this country. And why we pushed out to the field is simple mathematics. While the FBI had a bloated bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., nearly 1/3 of the FBI's workforce lived and worked in the national capital region. 1/3 of the crime doesn't happen here. So I made the simple decision to move them out where the crime was happening in the field, to move out field agents, to move out intel analysts, to move out program managers. And by the way, that's what they all want to do, go out in the field and do the work. And no one's going to be punished for going out in the field and doing the work, and no one's going to be punished for wanting to stay at headquarters and help. But we needed a reallocation of assets, and that's what we did.
And from your experience, both before and now in office, have you found that many of these nonprofits have done work to undermine the stability and security of cities?
Those matters are very much ongoing, and hopefully we can report the results soon.
And I don't mean just those that may have aided and abetted or supported criminal acts. Those absolutely should be investigated and pursued to the fullest extent of the law. And I hope that we follow the money trail, as some of my colleagues have suggested. I also want to get your opinion about the nonprofits that are working to get elected and then push criminal justice policies that have made our cities and states less safe. Specifically, I'm going to push out all of the things that they espouse make the cities stronger. No cash bail. Try not to charge crimes. Don't call people offenders or felons or rapists or drug traffickers. I can go on and on and on. But the gist is, don't charge. When you do charge, charge as minimally as you can. Don't put people on parole or probation following incarceration. Diversion should be the rule. I mean, I can go on. And we're seeing these play out in cities across our nation. I am one who believes it is always important to look at how we can do things better in our criminal justice system. But what has happened is some of these groups have hijacked that good intention by so many and used it as a way to subvert the stability of this country. And I firmly believe when that money is traced, you're going to find it's not only going not just to policies, but it's also going to pushing and promoting criminal acts. And I believe that money and support doesn't just come from infrastructure within the U.S., because I believe undermining our cities and this nation is something our foreign adversaries will get behind, and it will show that they are behind. Is the FBI trying in its reallocation of resources to make up and help in these areas where local law enforcement is trying its best, but it's fighting an uphill battle against mayors and city council and indeed governors that promote and support and pass laws and policies that follow these weak, insane policies?
We go into every community where the crime rates are high, and if you look across the board, the crime rates are coming down across the country because the FBI is going in there and doing good police work, and we're not going to be dictated to by mayors or governors. We have federal law enforcement capabilities and responsibilities to our citizenry, and we're executing those on every single day, including rural communities and tribal lands.
And you are, correct me if I'm wrong, welcomed and supported and enthusiastically praised by the cops that are there because they want those communities safer.
Well, I think the police speak for themselves, and we'll let them do that at their own leisure.
And one of the other gaslightings that I heard was that at a time when we're trying to help them because they're having vacancy rates and they can't retain police, and you're causing that. Isn't in fact that police across this country, because they've been defunded, they're not supported, they have groups that are continuously combating when they're trying to make the communities safer. I know this because when I was the Attorney General, they all wanted to come to Florida, and I welcomed them with open arms. In fact, we are increasing our ranks in Florida, sometimes to the detriment of other cities and states because they can't keep them. They tried to make it sound like it was your fault that we had vacancies in these police ranks around the nation, when in fact, aren't you trying to help bolster their ranks and help them because they have mayors and prosecutors and city councils and governors that won't help them?
That's exactly what we did. We did it in D.C., we're doing it in Memphis, we're going to Chicago, Miami, St. Louis, so many other cities across the country.
And I'm just grateful that you are doing this, and I commend you for all the numbers that I'm seeing going after the violent crime, helping make sure we are getting the criminals that came here unvetted from other nations out of this country, that you are allocating resources to those efforts. It is all important to make this a stronger, safer nation, and we appreciate you being here today and making sure we're talking truth and not misinformation to the American people. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.